All right, we are live for the midweek or end of the week live stream, and as always, looking forward to connecting, sharing my 2 cents on a variety of subject matter. And it looks like more jawboning, more finger pointing, more name calling from this administration to try to shift the blame. And is it possible that he's wanting to have Jerome Powell take the fall for the pending official announcement of the recession? We'll see. But as always, welcome to a live stream. Hope everyone's doing well. And it's going to be an interesting morning, to say the least. But hope everyone's day is off to a good start. And let me make sure I'm flowing smoothly here. And then we'll get into some interesting headlines that I believe you will have interest to find out more about. So for those who are plugged in, definitely make sure you guys hit that subscribe button wherever you're watching from. And also, make sure you guys hit that bell notification and all those things so you'll be notified when we go live. And if you're new, make sure you scroll beneath this video here for all the resources that can offer some strategies for people to consider. So as always, my goal with the channel is to give people information from an alternative perspective that's contrary to the mainstream narrative and let you do your own homework at the end of the day. So welcome, as always, to the live stream, my good people. Looking forward to connecting. Let me make sure everything is flowing smoothly. Then we'll get into all the good headlines and things of that nature and go from there. And typical format, give you some resources, some good news, market activity, then we'll jump into headlines. And as always, going to do just that. But before I move forward, I want to make sure I continue to remind people the importance of educating yourself. And the best way to do it, I believe, is to test your dollar IQ. And it's simple, 10 quick questions that give you a historical viewpoint of what we call a dollar. And if you're interested to test yourself, go to rethinkingthedollar.com/quiz, or just go to rethinkingthedollar.com, scroll to the bottom, you'll see it. And then it'll give you some steps from there to follow up and see where you stand. And as of right now, the average for this is less than 60%. So a lot of people have more room to grow. And so this is my way of trying to help people to do such. And then also, as you continue to educate yourself, it ultimately just takes you back to sound money. And that's why I want to make sure everyone's aware of the silver team. And I'm always looking for some new partners to join me to help other people get their weight up. And it's a good way to monthly have your stack delivered to you with no questions asked, and then be able to share your information if you become a member with other people and earn income off of it that you can then return and buy more silver with. So it's what I call the silver cycle, where you can help people get paid, stack for yourself, and then buy more on the other end. So if you're interested, links in the description. Go to mysilverteam.com, and definitely you can get some options there. So that being the case, let's just jump into the primary resource here that I think is a good option for everybody if you have not. So this is more so, I'm trying to categorize different individuals because, as we all know from reporting, the average Joe has very little savings or retirement assets, so they don't have much to lose. But for those who do, who've worked hard, long, and you expect to be able to retire, you need to reconsider or rethink the current strategies. And so here we have colonialmetalsgroups.com/RTD will take you to this page here where you fill out this form, download this PDF here, and it'll give you instructions as well as information on how to get involved with a self-directed IRA, which allows you to take your old conventional portfolio, convert it into something true, tried and tested, i.e. gold and silver, and protect yourself as well as your future. Put it in your own hands rather than the algorithms and things of that nature that will impact the markets in the days ahead, especially if all this Trump, Fed, Powell situation escalates and it becomes the excuse that they give us for this next, market, whatever. So once again, colonialmetalsgroup.com/RTD, links in the description as well as a number. Give them a call and speak with the professionals and see if this option is something good for you. All right, so with that being the case, I want to just jump right into good news, man. We're going to get into the good news, and we will keep it moving from there. Let me make sure my screen is up here, and I want to just give it to you straight. So my whole goal with the daily devotionals is to give people a chance to plug into something to charge their spirit, man, and hopefully get them started on the right foot throughout the day. And so there's no point in going out here in the world on your own without being spiritually charged up. And so this is my way of helping people do such. It says here, April 17th, let me zoom in so you can see what I see here. It says, cracked but carried, the power inside the vessel. It says, we are like fragile clay jars containing this great treasure, dot, dot, dot. This makes it clear that our great power is from God, not from ourselves. 2 Corinthians 4:7, New Living Translation. Then it goes on to say, you are not just flesh and bone, you are a vessel designed to carry something eternal. Jesus said, quote, the kingdom of God is within you. Luke 17:21. Not outside, not far away, within. God didn't choose golden jars or flawless marble. He chose clay, fragile, imperfect, which is us. And the question is why? Because the value is not in the jar, it's in the treasure inside. You carry kingdom power. Not to boast, not to reveal where it came from, but to reveal where it came from. Jesus said, freely you have received, freely give. Matthew 10:8. So you're not just a believer, you're a distributor, a walking container of heaven's hope, authority, and glory. So don't disqualify yourself because you feel cracked. Even broken vessels leak the kingdom. And then the closing prayer is, Father, I thank you that though I am a fragile vessel, you have chosen to fill me with the treasure of your kingdom so that your power, not mine, may be seen through me. Amen and amen. And hopefully, my good friends, that was a blessing to you just as much as it was to me, because I know I needed that this morning. And I'm glad that hopefully I get a chance to share it with you. So let me get an amen in the chat if you feel me on that one. Okay, let's keep it moving, good people. I want to jump right into yesterday. Woo, gold hit 3,350. I saw, and so as you can see here, let me just look at the last seven. Let's look at the last 7 days according to this chart here, and as you can see here, we got up to almost 3,350. And of course, silver's doing its thing as well. But as always, the powers that be have to clamp things down and make it appear as if, there's nothing really to pay attention to. But one thing I want to remind people or share with people, let me grab this little visual aid here. Let me find it. If you go to the top assets by market cap, you can see here, if I zoom in, that gold is the numero uno, and it is $22 trillion. And last time I looked at this prior to this surge of the last month or so, it was just 20 trillion. And so 2-point-something trillion has moved into gold over the last 30 days. And of course, we see all the other equities that are the companies. A lot of them are in the red, not doing too well. But then you got silver here. It has surpassed Bitcoin again. So we know for the last year or so, silver was under Bitcoin, but because Bitcoin is, being tinkered with nowadays, it's not where it will eventually go. Because, as I mentioned before, there'll be no great reset without Bitcoin succeeding. So that's all a part of the, the psyop. But anyway, silver is at, what does it says here? $1.8 trillion. So that's always a good thing. And it's nowhere near. So think about this. If silver and gold were to go 1-to-1, 1-to-10, whatever people ratio predict, that means either silver would have to literally go up to, as you can tell, a lot higher to equate to those type of ratio numbers. So anyway, that's what it is there. So let's get into the headlines, man. So is Donald Trump using this whole Jerome Powell narrative as an scapegoat to cover up what was inevitable, which is the whole idea of, the reset, the restructuring, the depression, as I said the other day, Ray Dalio said, something greater than the depression. I mean, just the narratives can go on and on and on. We all know that change must come, and it's going to be ugly. But the thing is, Donald Trump wanted this. He wanted a second term because he wants to make America great again without really factoring in the cost to do that, no matter what, equals pain. So it's like, dude, pick your poison. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to try to step up and be the man, own it. Because you inherited a mess, but you're a part of the mess. Because it's the whole health situation which led you to pass stimulus bills and stimulus checks that created this mess. Or kick the can further, blowing up the bubble. Now the bubble's leaking air now. You know what I'm saying? Come on now, own it. But once again, you got to point the blame at somebody. And so what am I talking about? Let's just check it out. Very first article, Trump calls for Powell's ouster amid rate cut speculation. So let's just jump into this one real quick, and then I'll build a interesting narrative around it, I believe. But I'm going to give it to you straight, my good people. This is from X, and it's very interesting. It says here, President Trump has publicly criticized Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, stating that his termination cannot come fast enough. And it's the whole back and forth of he can't fire him because it's a private bank and yada, yada, yada. So he's trying to put pressure and lay the narrative as to how things are not progressing because Jerome Powell is behind the curve. And so it says, due to what Trump perceives as mismanagement of interest rates. So I'm thinking like, okay, mismanagement of interest rates, cut, increase, whatever. The interest rates are a separate category because just the open market activity tells us what's happening. It has everything to do with the debt market and the fact that nations are no longer going to be our creditors. And so he's calling for the interest rate cuts, which will somehow spur a artificial boom in the fact that more people will go out borrowing. Says this comes at a time when the European Central Bank is preparing for its 7th interest rate cut. Trump's remarks highlights his ongoing dissatisfaction with the Fed's monetary policy, which he believes should have been more aggressive in lowering rates earlier. And so not only, I was actually, did a video yesterday highlighting the Fed interest rates or Federal Reserve, and just to look at where things are at and where he's wanting them to go. So if I give you the long-term, I'm going to give you the long-term viewpoint here. So here we got the long-term viewpoint. This is the Federal Reserve interest rates over the last 50 years. And so here we got all this hiking here due to the stagflation, inflation of the 70s and the early 80s. And so God forbid we get up to what will be more reasonable, which are stable rates, which would then require, a massive deflationary crash. But he's wanting to cut rates lower. And so we lived in an era of ZERP, which was basically zero interest rates. And let me share that with you. Let me zoom in here if I can. And so here we got the great financial crisis, which led to zero interest rates forever. They raised it. There was a problem in the banking sector. They dropped it once COVID hit. And then they caught itself tightening it. Here we are now, got up to 5.33, and they're lowering it, and it's at roughly 4.33 percentage points, and he's wanting even lower. So damn, just say put it back at zero so to make you look better, while all along our currency is completely being destroyed. Because as I love to reference this here, we're not working with much here. Literally, we only have, 3 pennies. And so he's literally saying, if you drop it lower, we expand the monetary base. This 3 pennies will go to, 2, then 1, and then what? Because the world's not going to sit around and let you just print willy-nilly. Come on, DT. But we know it's a part of the game. Okay, so what's my point? Here we got some comments here. And this is where I understand he has a lot on his plate, but, to just come out here lying to the people. Come on now. The ECB is expected to cut interest rate for 7th time, and too late Jerome Powell of the Fed. So he's calling him too late JP, who is always too late and wrong. So he's wrong because he hasn't cut. You cut when you're in a crisis. Am I right? Or am I wrong? And so just to highlight this, every other event, you see these bars here, these gray bars, that was a recession. And so it was unprecedented for Volcker to hike rates in the midst of a recession. But then ever since then, the markets break, they cut. Markets break, they cut. Markets break, they cut. Markets broke, they cut. So are you telling me Jerome Powell? Not Jerome Powell, I'm sorry. Are you telling me Donald Trump that right now, let me get myself on the screen here. Right now, you want us to cut because the market's broken? Are you admitting that the markets are broken? They were broken before you got here, but, once again, they're broken. So that's why you're begging for a cut. And because this recession has already been all up in here, now you need to point the blame. I could be wrong. I don't know. I am not a PhD economist, but I'm no dummy. And let's get into some of the excuses as to how and why Jerome Powell is at blame, is at fault here. And so it says yesterday issue report, which was another and typical complete mess, referring to Jerome Powell's comments saying that the debt is somewhat sustainable, yada, yada, yada. I didn't even listen to it because, once again, who pays attention to these cats other than just watching what the markets do, because that's all it's about. Oil prices are down. Groceries, even eggs are down. And the USA is getting rich on tariffs. So getting rich on tariffs. And so I saw a report saying that, the U.S. has collected $2.1 billion a day or a week or something. At the same time, our national debt is at $36 trillion and climbing. So the deficit, the deficit that we still have, let me just, highlight these truths. The deficit that we have, I'm not quite sure it's shrunk at all. I could be wrong. But let me just check my handy dandy calculator here. And so if I'm not mistaken, it says here, $2 trillion, and the Doge has helped people save around $2,900 per taxpayer. And if you just look at what matters most, this number is still getting bigger. It hasn't stopped. So stop that number, and then we can talk, Donald. That's just my opinion, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Okay, so let's keep it going real quick. A couple other things here. So it says, too late, referring to JP, should have lowered interest rates like the ECB long ago, but he should certainly lower them now. Powell's termination cannot come fast enough. And this is from Donald Trump's Truth Social, which came out today at 6:12 a.m. So, once again, Donald Trump playing a blame game, wants to push it off to him, saying that it's Powell's fault for not cutting to keep this economy going. And if all these prices he mentioned of things cutting, inflation figures down, all that stuff is down, is it more so because there's a lack of liquidity in the system to really keep this thing elevated, or the tariffs is forcing nations to have to really rethink some things, so that's less spending, and the actual consumer, individuals such as myself, am spending less on garbage and buying more gold and silver so that I can insure myself against all this crap. Yeah, could that be an option as well? I don't know. But let's keep it going. I want to follow up with that one with, let me go back to my screen here. So next one I want to touch on is Mr. George Gammon made an interesting statement that I want to share. Trump's teeing up Powell to be the scapegoat. And that's where the whole idea of this is scapegoat came into play, because Mr. George Gammon here, great content creator. Been a minute since we've connected, and definitely should reach out to him. It says Trump teeing up Powell to be the scapegoat for the recession. And so by the time it's officially announced that we're in a recession, as Ray Dalio said, it's going to be far too late. And so I would say, despite what we're being told, just look at all the indicators where we've been in a recession for quite some time. But I know for certain individuals such as George, because he has a large following and he has a lot of key public figures that he partnered with, his narrative has to remain above ground. Whereas in me, I'm more so, I'm hood with mine, so I can be straight up with mine. Anyway, it says MAGA will choose to ignore the fact that Fed doesn't control long 10-year. 10-year went up 100 basis points first Fed cut cycles. It says, and easily convince themselves via the undefeatable power of MAGA mental gymnastics, all bad is Powell's fault. And so literally he's just saying that, this what I just read to you, it's the idea that Jerome Powell is not really controlling things. The cutting won't really improve things. And the MAGA crowd, those that think that Trump can do no wrong, will they allow him to get away with this, shifting the blame on somebody else? And as I mentioned before, this is what he wanted. He wanted to come in office to get a second term, knowing that the cards were stacked against him. So man up, buddy. Take it. So that's just a little commentary from George there. and onto other somewhat, I would say, issues, but other things that are of importance because they paint a more, what I would say, more realistic picture as to what, let me get my screen going here. Give me a second here. What the average Joe in the world might be experiencing, as well as investors. Go back here. Okay, give me a second here. I lost my pages. Okay. Lost my pages. All right, let me get myself together here. Okay, so what is the mainstream economy talking about? So here we got global investors are extremely bearish. And so if you look at those that are actually out here moving the markets, they're moving them in a way that is not so favorable for the current administration, nevertheless the world. And this is a report from Kobayashi letter. Let me give it to you straight. And so it says, global investors have rarely been this bearish. A record 50% of institutional investors intend to reduce U.S. equity exposure. 50%. According to Bank of America survey released this Monday, allocation of U.S. stocks fell 13 percentage points over the last month to a net 36 underweight, the lowest since March 2023 banking crisis. So literally, institutions are deciding to dial back on holding equities because of the tariffs and the uncertainty of the overall economy in general. But nevertheless, the industries that drive our entire economy is right now having to consider pausing, laying off, cutting back because of this tariff narrative of how they have to now try to shift their operations more so in the U.S. favor or face excess of taxes via the tariffs. So that'll cause a lot of companies to have to pause and rethink their operations. It says since February, investors' allocation to U.S. equities have dropped by 53 percentage points, making the largest 2-month decline on record. And what does that look like? As you can see right here, this is what that look like. You got this red blip right here. And so we haven't seen nothing this steep. You got to go back to 03, 05 over this time frame over here to see something so steep. And so as a result, global investor sentiment has failed to 1.8 points, the fourth lowest since 2008. We have likely never seen such a rapid shift in sentiment. So just like that, bam, the tariff narratives increase. People be like, the hell with that. We got to sit in cash or run the gold. And that's institutions. And it doesn't stop there, people. Let me give you something else here. Here we have recession expectations rising fast by global investors. This is something real, people. And just a little bit of something else where the graphs tend not to lie. And so here we have something from Global Investor. Marcus Investor, is a global recession coming? A net 42% of world investors with $38.6 billion in assets under management expect a global recession, the highest share since 2023. Says this is the fourth largest reading in over 20 years. Moreover, 82% of them expect a weaker global economy. So here you have another chart, and you have more numbers. It just doesn't look favorable. So above my head here, we're steadily climbing, and we're only in the 4th month of the new year. And what's this, the 88th day of Donald Trump's presidency, and we're experiencing all this global recession concerns, and this is just not good. This is not good. Not good at all. And so it doesn't stop there. I'll just give you one more. What you're looking at, I'll just give you one more here. The fact that, let me share this visual right here. So here we got America's 19 trillion consumer economy in one chart. And so Visual Capitalist does a good job of laying things out. But when you have an economy such as ours that's built on consumption, because we hollowed out our manufacturing over the last umpteen years with NAFTA and all types of stuff. If Americans don't spend, we don't have nothing to look forward to. And here we have that hang up of the need to cut rates. Because if you don't cut rates to give people that false illusion that things are heading in the right direction, i.e. through more borrowing, through more financing, through incentivizing people to go out and spend, then it's going to be hard to cover up this narrative of making America great again. But just look at this. And so we got two sectors. Service sector, which is 12.7. I'm getting my tongue. Cat got my tongue. 12.7 trillion is the service sector, which consists of all the, for the most part, white collar jobs, healthcare, housing utilities, food, accommodation, entertainment, transportation, financial services, and 2.1 education, personal care, whatever. This is currency spent within our country to make this system go round. Then you have the goods side of things, which is 6.1 trillion. You got sports goods, clothing, cosmetics, cigarettes, candles, jewelry. You got vehicles. And me being in Detroit, the Motor City, where the Motor City goes, so does the rest of our country. And right now, it ain't looking good. You got the gas energy, you got household furnishings, you got groceries and takeout. So here, this makes up the entire 18, and this is a little outdated, 18.8 trillion, i.e. $19 trillion. And this is what keeps our economy flowing, because within these sectors here, these companies, for the most part, make up S&P 500 in some capacity, and they are the employers of majority of those that are in the working force. And so if they are not doing good, their workers won't be doing good. Therefore, it'll be more downsizing. And when you downsize, that means more people get behind on their bills, don't pay bills, defaults, bankruptcies, foreclosures, repossessions. You guys get my drift. And it's all subject to Jerome Powell now, according to Donald Trump. So you got to love these narratives. But once again, you guys know what's happening. There's more stories here. If you're interested, I'd encourage you to go take a second, go to rtd.news. You're going to get a lot more headlines. You got headline for days, more than I can actually give you in one live stream, but they're there. And what they tell us is that don't believe what you're told, do your own investigative work, come up with your own conclusions, and then hedge. And you might want to bet against the mainstream narrative. And of course, that means taking action to your own hands and doing what you got to do. So that being the case, good people, that's all she wrote for today. As always, it's good to connect with my people. And I appreciate you for taking time with me. And as always, don't want to leave you without any more strategies, suggestions, or recommendations. And so that's why I always encourage you, if you haven't, definitely go check out my people at Colonials Metals Group. You can definitely be in the good hands, speak with the professionals, and also get your weight up, good people. The most affordable gold, I believe, gold backs. Go to buygoldnotes.com, links in the description. And also for those who want to really take it up a notch, you can actually get yourself some other affordable gold, which is on the screen here. These are the little mini micro bars, as I call them. And so I got me the whole stack of them right here, collecting my gold just so I can make sure I got something for family and friends to give out. So just a good way to diversify. You can get those at the My Silver Team store, or link down below, the Silver Team store, link below. And those are just some options for my good people. Anyway, be blessed, be safe. Enjoy the rest of your day. Shalom.